Hey everyone, I was thinking the day how utterly blind or blindsided humanity has become since centuries ago, and especially I guess the best way to look at it is since Western civilization, um, and the building blocks of Western civilization are the idea that there's a God, a righteous God, and there's laws and things operate on these laws. There's good, there's evil, but as darkness grows in the world, less and less of this seems to be relevant, seems to be obvious to people. And I think this is a spiritual condition. Um, as we go past through the centuries, man becomes more scientific. And would think what's interesting about that is if you go back to the scriptures, and the Lord told us not to eat from the tree of good and evil, the tree of knowledge, to not to eat from that. And the first thing Satan said to Eve was, "Ha, what do you think? Surely you won't die. What do you think? Surely you won't die." Well, the first thing is they got into the darkness of their own mind and they started questioning the Lord, which wasn't done in faith, which wasn't done in obedience. So that is the crux of it all. That was the beginning of the fall, and that's what we all gravitate towards in our natural mind. We gravitate towards darkness. And all the philosophers throughout the century, like Nietzsche, and I don't know, I think therefore I am. It's all a matter of the mind, what we see in the mind, and it's not a matter of the heart, but the Lord deals with the human heart, the human soul. But the Satan deals with the intellect, the mind. What do you think? Of course, independent of the Lord. Um, so, and then you look at the creation, and I'm no apologist. I'm really not. I apologize for that. I wish I was a better speaker, but if you look at biology, if you look at chemistry, if you look at physics, if you look at the balance of the universe, if the moon just got off a course, I don't know, just a little bit got out of sync and spinning around the earth, it would flood the earth with the seas. I mean, the earth would throw everything out of balance if one planetary alignment got out of balance. It would throw everything else out of balance. I mean, it's a perfectly balanced solar system. Not that I have a lot of education in those kind of things, but from the little that I've read and the little I've heard about it, there's an absolute balance in the universe and on this earth. And when man thinks that he has something to do with that, well, he's leaning to the darkness of his own mind. Now, that's fine. Listen, I believe on being a good steward of what God's got. I was a Boy Scout. I picked up trash. Somebody threw trash down. I went around and picked up trash. I cleaned up. I tried to be a good steward. I have animals. I take care of my animals. I love my animals. I do all these things because, you know, man was originally a gardener in the Garden of Eden. He liked the green earth. Do they call it today? Let's be green earthers. Let's be ecologists and all. Well, that's what humanity was created to be. That was the first job of man in the Garden of Eden, was take care of the animals and take care of the earth and take the garden, as it was called. And all the biology in the world, all the plant life and all the body functions and all these things, they scream out that there's a creator, that there's an intelligent being. All these things scream out. It's obvious to do any kind of study in the real sciences, and it's absolutely amazing the engineering behind it. And Psalm says, and David, who's the author of the Psalms, he says in 14:1, and of course I'm reading here, a Psalm of David, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. And then David's saying, they are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. And that is the condition of fallen humanity. And as we grow into an ever darkening world where Satan says, surely you don't think that. What do you believe? You know, when I grew up, I don't know, like on the Mary Tyler Moore show or whatever, you had them saying, you don't believe in God, do you, Mary? You don't pray, do you, Mary? Like, what kind of idiot are you, Mary? We believe in the science God. I think, therefore I am. I can figure all things out independent of God. You know, I'm 61 years old. I grew up with this movement away from God, away from the Bible. And, you know, just like that movie, who was that guy who wrote that movie? I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. I'll put it in here later. But where it talks about the Smithsonian, and it talks about evolution, and it talks about you know, everything's based on evolution. Everything's based on things just happen by happenstance. All these things evolved over millions of years. One cell connected with another cell, and then they grew to this, and then it adapted this and adapted that. Well, you know what? That takes, in my way of thinking, that takes more faith to believe that something could come together and operate well by happenstance than it would to say that there's a creator. And besides that, where would these where would the first building blocks of life come from? And okay, so maybe there's some people that say, well, it could have evolved, but God was involved in that evolution. I guess. But you know what? The Bible doesn't. The Bible talks about a creator, and it talks about the creation of the universe and the creation of all things. And I think that creation reflects the mind of God, reflects the intelligent design, which they don't dare teach anymore. I remember the name. It was Expelled. The guy did that movie Expelled, and it was talking about if you challenge the evolution, which actually Karl Marx kind of championed that because he championed Darwin. And of course, Marx was a Satanist, later became a Satanist in his life. He hated the Tsar. He wanted to overthrow the idea of God. And he said the best way to do that is to teach there is no God. Or God's bad or anything. No, the most effective way to do it was to say there is no God. And so what happens is something has to rush in and fill that void. Our understanding, science. Oh, it's such a mystery. Science is so wonderful. Well, in my viewpoint, science reflects a creator. And I'm not going to get into creation science because that's that's stomped out as well. But because men are evil, because men's hearts are evil, this is why none of these things are presented in the world. The world's been evil since the days of Noah. And do you think they're going to broadcast things of God? You think they're going to teach things of God, especially when the humanists took over the schools after World War II and in the 60s? No, it's not going to happen. And you know what else? It's political. And when I say political, I mean it's manipulating people's thoughts and people's idea to get everybody on board. And that's what Satan has to do in building a new world order, which he wants to run. But I see horrible things happening today all around the world, not just in this country, because people deny God. They deny righteousness. They deny absolutes. They deny right and wrong. Everything's relativism. You know, well, if you want to believe that, that's fine, but we'll believe this. Everything's relative to what we think. Well, relativism is the opposite of absolutes. The relativism is the opposite of God, of there being an absolute righteous God where everything is in perfect balance and holiness. And truth stems from that. And I've said in my other videos, if you twist truth, that becomes a lie. Well, Satan's called the father of lies. And the first thing Satan does is try to get man's eyes off of God and onto himself. And that's why the Bible speaks about they worship the creature rather than the creator. But like I started off saying, David said in the Psalms, only a fool says there is no God. And so I guess to put it in a nutshell, they kind of worship their own mind. They worship their own understanding. That's what they worship because their heart's not right towards the Lord. And this is a curse of humanity. This is the curse of the fall. And that's why when Adam and Eve fell, that's why Christ is known as the second Adam, because we can be reconnected through God through the atoning blood of Jesus Christ by our faith. Nothing we do. It's God's provision in love through us, through himself, to send his son to us to die on a cross in our behalves. Man, what's more loving than that? But you know what? People don't want to hear it. That's foolishness to them. Oh, you believe in God? What's wrong with you? Get with it, man. Well, I hate to tell you something, but that's always been the conditions of humanity, all the way back to the martyrs. The Roman Empire. They allowed a pluralism to exist, a relativism to exist, and anything that was corrupted, anything that, in other words, do your own thing, baby, that's fine, but don't try to tell somebody else what to do, okay? And if you tried to say there was absolute, if you said there was a God, well, they burn you on the stakes. They fed you to lions. They did all kinds of things in the heathen world. And you know what? It's no different today. But the thing is, people are too blind to see it. All right. God bless. Bye.